year.
Peter Schiff, I mean, I guess it's hard to say when you've had the biggest weekly decline for stocks in a year that it could have been worse. But really, the market has seemed overall to handle the whole debt situation in Washington fairly orderly. That's fair to say, yeah?
Well, first of all, it was worse, especially if you're measuring the Dow and those other currencies. What about the Swiss who own U.S. stocks? Look at how much they're getting killed with the dollar getting clobbered against the Swiss franc today, not to mention the yen, the New Zealand dollar. But, you know, I don't think anybody really believes there's going to be a default, at least not next week. Treasuries are rallying. That wouldn't be happening if there was fear of a default.
No, and that's been the interesting thing through this whole thing, right, is the reaction in the Treasury market certainly hasn't been what you may expect given the situation.
You see, the dollar is sinking because what the market understands is rather than default, we will inflate, we will print. And so we are defaulting on our debts by inflating them away. And that's why the dollar is making new lows, because people understand that
Peter, I'm going to interrupt you, and we're going to take this speaker right now. Speaker Boehner. Peter Schiff, political drama of the highest order, a little bit of theater there just before, I guess, the vote is going to begin in a few minutes. What do you make of what the speaker had to say?
It is theater. It's all form, no substance. You know, the crisis is not the debt ceiling. It's the debt. The Boehner plan makes the debt a lot bigger. The cuts he's talking about are trivial. They take place over 10 years. They're back-end loaded. They're based on rosy assessments of the economy. You know, the current budget deficit assumptions for this fiscal year, the government assumed that the economy would grow at 4%. Based on today's GDP numbers, we're annualizing out at less than 1% for the first half of the year. So the government is off by over 75% in their economic estimates for this year. How are they going to make estimates over 10 years? We need real cuts right now. And Boehner is also too politically afraid to actually do what needs to be done. And the real problem is not that they fail to raise the debt ceiling, but that they do, and that we keep on borrowing. We drive the currency into the ground, and we get a real crisis, not because we don't want to borrow, but because no one in the world will lend us any money.
Peter, Peter Schiff, I'm just curious to see your overall reaction. I mean, you were running for office,
yes,
from the state of Connecticut. You wanted to be a part of that circus that we've all watched.
It wouldn't be a circus if I was there. I would be leading the filibuster in the Senate. They would pass that debt ceiling increase over my dead body. I would make sure that there was no more deficit spending right now. I would force them to cut spending all by myself.
Peter Bookvar, you know, interesting that Moody's came out.